I do what I do. He knows what I'm about to tell him right now. It's Mr. Keep running your mouth. That's what I do.
I just feel like I'm the champ, and at the end of the day, I'm just a fighting motherfucker. It doesn't matter. Inside, outside, I can just fight. So I just feel like if it gets down to the wire, and we gotta lock it up, I'm out on top.
As you can see how I'm looking, I stay solid. I'm always solid. I stay fucked something up, right? You know what I'm saying? To the fans that know.
Do that job outside the ring. I'm a fighter. Like I said before, there ain't no safety on the clock, so
When I was a casual, I thought like a casual, I spoke like a casual, I watched everything boxing like a casual. But when I became a hardcore, I put away all those casual things. This is Michael Rogers, and this is Bodywork Boxing. And I want to get into a couple things because as a hardcore, one of the first things that we do is we start to remove bias. I know that's one thing that I did when I started getting into boxing a whole lot more, because I used to be into it back in the day, and I got to working and traveling and doing all this, but I'm back. I've been back in boxing for a couple years, and I just now started to crank up the channel and start really getting into, actually start voicing opinion, because I live in the comment sections in a lot of places. But I decided to start doing my own thing, and I realized that the hardcore fans, they actually are able to remove bias. And why am I talking about bias? I'm talking about bias because you have two fighters in Teofimo Lopez and Devin Haney that are always calling each other glorified clout chasers. So I want to get into it. I want to break it down, and I want to actually elaborate on what's going on and how I see things. I want to remove some biases and just get in detail, so we can kind of decipher these things. But it all happened tonight when Teofimo Lopez actually took on Vasyl Lomachenko for all the belts, which it was advertised for, but somehow the WBC had already sent out Devin Haney a belt because he didn't fight Lomachenko. Rumor has it he was avoiding him, which I did some research, and he didn't fight him, but I reasoned that he wanted to fight Teo because he came to the table with a belt instead of defending his belt up against Devin. So that's how Devin got a belt. But that night, they didn't believe, I don't think a lot of people believed that Teo was going to actually beat Vasyl Lomachenko, but he actually wound up beating him pretty much for all the belts. But it still left a question for undisputed because Devin still remained with a belt. And meanwhile, Lopez had the other three belts. The only belt that was really in question was the WBC with a franchise designation, and Devin Haney having a WBC belt. That was the only belt out of the four that was left in question. And that's why there's a question on Undisputed. But we're going to get into what happened tonight when, right after Lopez won, what had happened and what he said in response to a fight with
I don't mind being
Devin
the
Haney.
two-time email world champion. You know what I mean? That'll be fine. I know a lot of people are already saying that this is not for Undisputed because of that. Whatever with Mauricio Suleiman and whatever he did, but I just got a belt that said franchise world champion. So from the WBC, and you got a guy like Devin Haney fighting Gamboa, a washed out Gamboa, just for a record that he wants to keep it safe and pretty. I can fight those guys. I don't mind it.
Do you think Haney would fight you next, assuming he beats Gamboa?
I don't care. I don't think any of these guys will step up to the plate. And if they do, they better be ready. Because I don't fear no man. I told you guys this. I don't care. I'm in there to fight. And if you're not there to fight with me, you're going to lose.
So the stage was set. Lopez said, yep, I'm going to do Devin next. And this is all that needed to happen. We needed to see Dev do this right here to this man. Well, hold on. Let me run it back real quick.
Let's not talk about Devin, man. His father jumped him out there. You know what I'm saying? His father jumped him out there and pretty much said, Gary don't want no smoke. That's all fine and dandy. I called him out. I know everybody seen me call Devin Haney out. Everybody said I got on the scale and showed him I was 143. We can fight. What's up, Devin? You ain't got no fight. Apparently, people supposed to be ducking you. People supposed to be ducking you or whatever. What's up? I spanked that ass. What's up? But nah, he instead of him fighting me, he gonna go and fight Gamboa. He about to fight Gamboa. That was already proven that Gamboa was washed up when he fought Tank. He fought Tank. He ain't showed to be blunt, and this is no disrespect to Gamboa because I like Gamboa, you know what I'm saying? But to be blunt, he ain't really had shit. He was just like washed up.
Washed up after he fought Crawford. And a fight between Mr. Gary Russell Jr. and Devin Haney damn near started a riot because that's a fight that everybody wanted. They didn't really want to see him against Gamboa, but they went with it because that was a common opponent between Devin and Tank to fight Gamboa. So, needless to say, it could be said that you go in negotiations with Mr. Gary Russell, and for whatever reason, that all that Mr. Gary Russell was capped and all that, that could be considered a clout chase because y'all was already in negotiations for the second time. This was post-COVID because they was in negotiations pre-COVID, and then we wind up and get a Dev versus Gamboa. But anyway, he handled the task. He dispatched Gamboa. So now the ball was in Lopez's court. And lo and behold, what does Lopez do? He go ahead and go into a purse bid, and he fights. He gets into a purse bid and wins, and he actually has Kambosos on the menu. Okay, and to his credit, I would say that Tio did fight Nakatani. Very tough fight for him. He knocked Comey out, and then he dominated Loma. And meanwhile, Devin was on the other side. He got a belt, and he just fought up a washed up Gamboa. So that's where we was at with that. So we got Lopez booked up with a purse bid in February with a date to be determined, which further went back and back and back, and he's still locked up in that. But then, so Lopez couldn't do anything. A month later, in March the 5th, it's reported that Devin Haney and Linares agreed to terms. They're going to fight on the zone, blah, blah, blah. So, after that, according to Mike Carpenter's sources have informed him that 22-year-old Haney to face the 35-year-old Linares, whose career has been hobbling along lately, 2 knockout losses in his last 5 fights. This is a slight step up for Haney from his last fight against fringe contender Yuriorkis Gamboa last November. Linares is ranked higher than Gamboa, but he struggled just as much as the Cuban fighter in his recent fights. You can't call this much of a step up for Haney from the Gamboa fight, as Linares was blown out by a very average Pablo Cano by a first round knockout. Although Linares has won his last 2 fights since then, he's done it against lower level opposition, and it's likely that if Linares had fought someone with power, he'd end up getting KO'd again. It's unclear if this was the best that Haney's promoter and Matchroom Boxing could get for him to fight. Number 2 WBC Javier Fortuna, Richard Comey, and Mayoshi Nakatani would all likely jump at these chances to fight Haney if given the opportunity. This isn't the fight that the fans wanted to see from Haney after he publicly called out the former WBA, WBC, WBO lightweight champion Vasyl Lomachenko at the start of this week. Haney instigating a fight with Lomachenko earlier this week. Where the fuck is Loma at? I'm free at the end of April or early May. Lomachenko responded in disbelief, saying, "Are you organizing our fight?" Obviously, Lomachenko suspected that Haney was using him to name drop clout chase to help get attention from boxing fans that see him as the secondary WBC lightweight champion behind Teofimo Lopez. Lomachenko has likely learned his lesson not to respond to Devin Haney in the future when he mentions his name on social media. So they went back and forth in my other video. I showed their little Twitter wars or whatever, but that's pretty much what happened in that instance. Because he could have gotten a fight with Loma. So they went back and forth when he had already agreed to terms and had a scheduled fight. And he taunted the man going into the week of the fight. So instead of Lomachenko, we get Linares. And before that, instead of Gary Russell, we got Gamboa. So I hope it can be seen kind of like going with this, because it's a clout chase. You know what I'm saying? That's the pot calling the kettle black. And nevertheless, you know, the fans, they kind of weren't happy once the fight went on between him and Linares. And Haney wasn't too enthused about the feedback from the fans. But it says Haney tried to impress the fans by fighting aggressively against Jorge Linares last Saturday night. Still, after he got hurt by him in later rounds, he's been hearing nothing but negativity from them ever since. The fans have been letting the 22-year-old Haney have it after watching him get hurt by a big right hand from the former 3-division world champion Linares in the 10th round in their headliner match at the Michelob Ultra Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. Despite being hurt, Haney was able to stay on his feet and finish out the final 3 rounds to win a 12-round unanimous decision, but he was hurt a few times along the way. So that was the feedback from the fans, and he did put on a dominating performance. He showed an excellent jab. He showed superior body work, and I'm surprised Linares didn't get dropped by body work. But mainly after he got hurt and he did all that holding, which the previous fight he was complaining about Gamboa holding him. After that, he really didn't do much. You know, he just closed the show. Decent performance for the second step-up fight. And now, all of a sudden, now that Tank did his thing, Loma did his thing, Haney did his thing, now all of a sudden, we hearing him talk about Tank. And basically, he calling for the smoke again. And I don't know if you've seen the pattern, but he has some things to say, and I'll just go ahead and get into that.
But it's just funny to me because why skip a whole weight class? The guy is 5'5". You're not even a real 135 pounder. All the 135 pounders are bigger than you. So why skip a weight class and go up to 140 for a secondary belt? Obviously, because you've seen that Barrios was food. He knows that at 135 is smoke.
So, do you see the Gervonta Tank Davis fight more realistic at 140 now, or you still see it possible at 135? Since you're eventually going to come up soon.
Realistic at all. Everybody heard what Floyd said. Floyd said that they only going to fight PBC and Mayweather Promotions fighters and yada, yada, yada. So we see what it is, and you just got to read between the lines. He's not going to any real competition, anybody who be a threat to beating him. Barrios, no disrespect to him, but, they built him up for, that opportunity.
My whole thing is this. Can we just get this over with? T.O., you was supposed to fight Dev after you got them belts from Loma because the WBC messed up and they didn't clean up. So let's just get undisputed at 135. And Dev, you can't be accusing T.O. of doing the same thing when you're doing the same thing that T.O. doing. Both of y'all are doing the age-old play where y'all calling somebody out, a bigger fighter, a better name, a better resume, only to give us something that we don't want. And so it's coming full circle, and I'm seeing this pattern. So, Tio, you kind of in the clear for now. So we got to wait for after Cambosos to see what you do, because you're supposed to take it to Dev, and y'all can clean it up. And Dev, you done did it where we were supposed to get Gary Russell, and you gave us Gamboa. Then we supposed to get Lomachenko, and you gave us Linares. And I'm trying to figure out how all this works, because if you the champ, right? If you the champ, who's supposed to be making the calls? Because Bill said y'all ain't get a phone call from Tank. But if he the money man and he don't got a real belt, aren't y'all supposed to be giving the calls? Now, you know daggone well, if you really push for that fight, you know Floyd to give you that fight if you really wanted it. It's a waste of energy to go on all these platforms. Go straight to the source. Work something out. You a boss? Make it happen. So we'll know. Now that you calling out Tank and everybody's schedule free and clear, revisit Loma. I did a video not too long ago about why both you and Tank should be blowing Loma phone up right now. Y'all free? So we gonna see. We gonna see. So T.O. after Cambosos, go holler at Dev. And Dev, go ahead and holler at Tank in the meantime. You know what I'm saying? Because you the boss. You the man, right? So let's make this fight happen, man. And stop being the pot that's calling the kettle black. And stop doing the same things, man. Y'all both clout chasing to a certain extent. Give the fans what they want. We can get undisputed at 135. We already got it at 140. We got a bout coming up with Spence and Pac. Hopefully that'll be unification. You know what I'm saying? For all three of them things. Plus the ring. The only thing left out is Bud. And so hopefully we can get that. We can get undisputed at 147 by the end of the year. Hopefully. Hopefully. We got Mel about to get undisputed at 154. We got the heavyweights about to do their thing, and hopefully they can get at least something get scheduled so that we can get undisputed. So in 2021, man, you can make, man, y'all could be great. You know, it could be a trilogy. But come on, y'all, let's just clean it up, man. Give us what we want as fans, man, and keep doing y'all thing, man. Y'all both good. Y'all both talented, man. Let's see what it do, man. We just want to see y'all get in the ring. We all got our notions. We just want to see y'all get in the ring and do y'all thing. That's it. That's all. Body work.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
My word, and I do what I do. He knows what I'm about to tell him right now. It's Mr. Keep running your mouth. That's what I do.
I just feel like I'm the champ, and at the end of the day, I'm just a fighting motherfucker. It doesn't matter. Inside, outside, I can just fight. So I just feel like if it gets down to the wire, we gotta lock it up, I'm out on top.
Hey man, hey look, as you can see how I'm looking, I stay solid. I'm always solid. I stay focused on the ring. You know what I'm saying, to the fans that know.
Every day outside the ring, I'm a fighter. Like I said before, there ain't no safety in the clout, so I'm ready.